think about the outcome that your clients are going to get. If they're going to make more money, well, then the pricing should reflect that. If they're going to be healthier, more successful, have better relationships, whatever the outcome is going to be, make sure your pricing reflects that. Welcome to the Master Your Business podcast, where we bring you the best in branding, marketing, and customer experience strategies. I'm Deirdre Martin, your host. And if you've been asking yourself how to level up your growing business, your marketing, your customer experience, or how to make more of an impact with your brand, this show is for you. You'll discover actionable tips and insights to help businesses just like yours gain clarity and illuminate the path to success. Train with industry experts, learn sales and marketing strategies, business and mindset hacks, and be inspired by authentic entrepreneurship stories. As your host, I'll share the no-nonsense advice that accelerated my journey from boring bank manager to industry thought leader in marketing and customer experience. Learn how I made the leap into the world of six-figure success, digital courses, keynote speaking, and co-authoring a #1 bestseller in just 1 year. Together with interviews from industry experts, this show ensures you're seen, heard, and hired by your ideal clients. Join our growing community of subscribers and let the Master Your Business podcast empower you to tackle your most significant challenges on your path to business success. Don't miss out. It's your turn to learn from the best and master your dream business. Welcome back to another episode of the Master Your Business podcast. I'm your host, Deirdre Martin, and today's topic has been buzzing around in my group program lately. Many of you, my professional service providers, have been asking about whether to set up a group program within your business as a potential revenue stream. And if it's a good time to add a group program to your overall business strategy. So if you've been wondering that, well, you've come to the right place today, because I'm going to share some insights and hard-learned lessons from my journey into the world of group programs. But before we dive into that, a quick reminder to our wonderful listeners out there, if you enjoy this episode, please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review our show. Your feedback helps us to keep bringing content that you'll absolutely love. Okay, let's talk group programs. So you're thinking about setting up a group program. It's a very tempting idea, and I get it. You get to help a whole group of people at one time in less time than it would take to serve them all individually. And because they're all together, it's more profitable, right? So boy, is the potential for increased profitability incredibly alluring when it comes to factoring in all of that time and everything else that's involved. But here's the first lesson I want to share about how to launch a group program from my own experience. So lesson #1, timing is everything. I set up my first group program and I was only 5 months into my business. And in hindsight now, that was way too early. I wish I'd spent more time working one-on-one with clients for at least a year before joining the group program bandwagon. Now, it was mid-pandemic, and everything was online, and it sort of made sense. At the same time, I wished I'd waited. And you might be thinking, why? Well, it's really about when you're in that early stage startup of your business, it is about kind of honing your craft a little bit, trying to understand more about what you actually like, if what you're doing now is different to what you did before you ran your own business. And part of it as well is about building a solid client base, getting a lot more clarity on who it is that you want to be working with, and gaining the experience you need to truly be clear and capable of adding value to the people that you're going to be serving within your group. And the same with one-to-one. So what I mean is, when you start out early in the early days, depending on the time frame it takes for people to be able to get a result when they work with you, if it takes them 3 months or 6 months or 9 months to see that result, well then, if you start your group within 2 months, that's never going to be enough time for your one-to-one clients or people in your group to see what results you were able to deliver before. And so that result aspect is really important for your marketing message, but equally to ensuring that in your sales conversations, the people that you're speaking to, they're looking to get from where they are right now to their version of success. And if you're not clear on how you're going to help them get there, what you need to do, or what that might look like in a group capacity versus one-to-one, well, then that could just cause some issues in terms of client feedback and whatnot. But equally, it's going to be a lesson learned for you. So what I think is, in terms of timing, get clear first on how your framework works in a one-to-one capacity and test it out on multiple clients. That's one of the things that I wished I'd done more. Okay, lesson number 2. The devil is in the detail. Group programs are and can indeed be way more profitable than working with clients one-to-one. But here's the catch. There are a lot more moving parts than what might be apparent from the outside in. So, for example, you've got to deal with regular communications, and probably a lot more regular than you would in a one-to-one capacity. So things like reminder emails or follow-on emails. You've got onboarding processes for a lot more people than you would have if you're just working with one client in isolation. But that also applies to the offboarding at the end of the group program. You've got things like potentially subscription payments if people are paying monthly because the program is running over a period, or weekly, or whatever it might be. And the list goes on. It's not just about the content that you're going to deliver or the results you're going to help people achieve. It's also about the logistics. And those logistics, they ensure that your group program runs smoothly. And that can be very overwhelming for some people, especially if you're not good with technology and stuff. And to be fair, there is no law that says the group programs can only run online. You can absolutely run them in person. But if you do decide to run them online, that can expand the geography and the reach of your potential client base. So, for example, that could open up new markets for you if you've previously only focused in your current geographic location and in person. So, for example, I've had people from the US, the UK, Canada, and Ireland in my group programs, which wouldn't have been possible if I were to have run them in person. So in terms of technology, there are umpteen tools that you can use, and many of which are built specifically to accommodate running group program sessions. And using tools like that can make your life so much easier in lots of different ways. But often those tools, because they're so specific and niched towards group programs, they have or can have a fairly hefty price tag. So if you're in the early days of your business and you're watching your purse strings, you may have to use just simple tools like Zoom and Google Drive for little to nothing. So lesson 3, the power of messaging. Okay, now let's talk about something that's often overlooked when you're setting up a group program, and that is messaging. When I jumped the gun, and I think I kind of did, right? And when I jumped the gun and I launched my group program too early, it diluted my message. And I ended up losing some high value prospects that I could have served if I'd continued on that one-to-one capacity. But there you go. And where I got caught out was that the result or value my one-to-one clients were getting versus those in my group, it differed, right? So that end result and that end place we were getting to was different for the people in my one-to-one versus the people in my group program. So here's the key takeaway on this. If your group program doesn't deliver the same results as your one-to-one offerings, I think you should really give some extra thought to your strategy. Your messaging needs to ideally encompass both or all of your offerings. It needs to be broad enough to encompass everything that you offer, but specific enough to attract the right people, and specific enough so that they're clear on what message it is that you, on what problem it is that you solve. And so to do this, how you can do this, and again, hindsight for me is great, but to do this, you need to run a targeted messaging campaign. And what I mean by that is, let's imagine that you have one framework that you use for your one-to-one clients, and you have one framework that you use for your group clients. In that instance, because the frameworks are different and the results are different that they get at the end of it, you need to run specific marketing campaigns for when you're trying to attract either one-to-one or group clients. I hope that makes sense. But really what I'm getting at is that either way, whether it's group or one-to-one, it's imperative to make sure that that message you're communicating with the world is crystal clear. So for your group, it needs to be crystal clear why your group program is as valuable as your one-to-one stuff, if not more so, or than any of your other offers, whatever you have on the go at that time. Right, lesson number 4, gamification. Oh my gosh, there is incredible power in gamification. In case you don't know what gamification is, it's a strategy that can genuinely elevate your overall group program and the experience your clients get from being in it. So how it works is you incorporate little things like maybe a little challenge or some sort of reward or a friendly competition that engages your participation and brings it to a whole new level. It really gets those participants kind of, doing things that they're aiming towards something each time you have a session. And that can make learning fun. And it can keep your clients motivated and invested in their own progress as well, which can take off a bit of pressure from you when you're trying to help multiple people get to different stages within the group program. So feel free to gamify your group program, be creative, create an extra layer of excitement and engagement using gamification. And a simple way I've done this in my group is to offer a bonus one-to-one call with me for clients once they've taken specific actions they need to have done. Step 1, step 2, step 3. And when they've done that, then they unlock a free call with me. And another is to celebrate a client who's had a fantastic win by giving them a small gift. And that can be just something very small, but you can give it virtually when your group program is online. Okay, lesson number 5, group program pricing. Now, this is one that really comes to the top when people are asking me about whether they should set up a group program or not. But let me take you back to that idea of timing. It's often a great strategy to start your group program with just a few participants. And this gives you a chance to gather valuable feedback and make necessary adjustments without really putting too much pressure on yourself or overwhelming yourself. So offering a launch price or a beta price to those early adopters can help you to create a buzz and generate initial interest in your program. It's a win-win for everyone involved. So the lesson here is this: start small and offer a launch price. Lesson number 6, invest in support. I really wished I'd done this sooner. And again, hindsight is a great thing. As your group program grows, so does the need for support. And depending on whether you run it as evergreen or you have set start and end dates, I'm going to talk about those more in a minute. That can really influence and affect the experience that people within your program have. Because if a cohort of people join all at the one time, and then somebody else joins later on, they might feel left behind, or, they might know everyone in the group. And again, depending on how big it is, all of those things can influence the experience that they have and what they're going to say about it outside of your circle. So here's what I wished I'd done sooner. And that was hiring a customer success manager or a virtual assistant, a VA, to provide additional personalized assistance to my clients. So if you think about it, like having someone dedicated to addressing those concerns that pop up and doing them promptly in your community, answering questions and, helping clients with whatever their needs are, but do it so promptly, that can really significantly enhance what their experience is and help to keep them engaged throughout the program. Okay, so now we've covered the 6 big lessons that I've learned, but let me share a few extra group program tips for you to consider. The first one is about market research. Before diving into a group program or any new product for that fact, conduct thorough market research. And when I say products, I'm talking about service, new offering, anything at all, right? Or even trying to potentially emerge break into a new market. Okay. When you're trying to potentially break into a new market, conduct thorough market research. And the goal is to understand your target audience's needs, what their preferences are, the things that will frustrate them, the problems they have, what keeps them awake at night. If they were to get help in this area that you help people with, what would they expect that help looks like? How long would they expect that it takes? All of that really good stuff. Because when you do that, that's going to help you tailor your program for the maximum impact, but equally, it's going to have the added benefit of supporting your messaging, your marketing, your sales conversations, so much more. So market research, do not skip this step. The second one is group program pricing strategy. Okay, here's the first thing I'm going to say to you on this. Do not underprice your group program. It's really easy to undervalue your expertise when you're offering it to a group, but make sure that your pricing reflects the value you provide. And even when it's a beta launch. So again, what I'd say on this is think about the outcome that your clients are going to get. If they're going to make more money, well, then the pricing should reflect that. If they're going to be healthier, more successful, have better relationships, whatever the outcome is going to be, make sure your pricing reflects that. And so even the beta launch, yes, it can be a discounted price for those early adopters of your group program, but still it needs to be worth your while financially to run it. And you need to feel, like you're being paid enough that it's worth your while doing it as well, because then you're going to enjoy it more. Whereas if you feel it's sucking the life out of you and it's not worth the money, well, then it's just going to not be a win-win situation for anybody involved. Okay, the next thing is about feedback loops. And what I mean by this is when you create opportunities for feedback with your participants, that actually creates an opportunity to continually improve your group program. And then how you do this, it's just so easy. You literally ask them for their input. You let them know that this is the first launch or the beta launch or whatever, and you just adjust what you're doing accordingly. Now, the great thing is that when people know they're coming in and it's the beta launch, they're going to be prepared for things to change. And so by managing their expectations for that initial cohort of people in your group program, you're really going to be able to get that valuable feedback early on and make sure then that future clients through the group program have an incredible experience. Okay, next, scaling gradually. Right, if you're new to group programs, start small, but equally start before you're ready and then scale gradually. And this is going to help you manage the complexity of your group program while still maintaining a positive experience for your clients. And this was advice that I got, and I think that was really good advice. You can build it as you go and you can sell it before it's built. That's exactly what I did. The very first time around, I launched it. I got 8 people in. That was enough just to get started. And when you do it that way and you're building it as you go, it's particularly helpful if you're the type of person who works well to deadlines or needs any accountability, because your clients, they're going to hold you accountable. For me, this is the tip that I have in the next one. Don't make it complicated. And this was what I was guilty of when I was building it as I went. And I put so much pressure on myself because I really wanted to deliver incredible value and incredible content so clients could get incredible results. And I worked so hard. I mean, I literally worked from 8 in the morning until 10 at night every day for about 8 weeks, so that I could create all of this incredible content. But what I did was I created too much content, okay? I literally created 36 pre-recorded lessons for my first program. That was way too many. Yes, it was all incredibly valuable and the feedback was great, but it was too much. And people started to feel overwhelmed by how much content was there. So even though we had live sessions and there was pre-recorded stuff, it was just too much. And there was work for them to go off and do afterwards when we'd been on the live calls and all that sort of stuff. So my advice on this is go lighter, go on the lighter side of the content by keeping things short and sweet, but offering incredible support and really building on that community vibe. Okay, so now you have all the tips, but I can't let you go and make a decision without knowing that there are some additional factors or choices worth your consideration when it comes to setting up your group program for success. So the first thing to consider is, are you going to do a live program versus a completely digitalized one? And what I mean by that is you need to decide whether you want your group program to be conducted live, where you show up live at specified times and you meet participants of your group program at scheduled intervals. Or if you prefer a sort of a digital, a self-paced format that runs on demand by the client, so you don't get involved at all once they've bought it. And the choice depends on your audience's preferences. And again, that goes back to the market research. But equally, it's going to depend on the nature of your content and your ability to give time. So do you have the time to show up for that live program? So that's what I want you to consider there, live versus digital. Okay, another thing to consider is evergreen versus set start and end dates. And let me just clarify what this means. Firstly, an evergreen program basically means that you will allow people or participants to enroll at any point. They can enroll whenever, there's no set or start dates. Whereas a program with set start dates, what happens is a whole bunch or a cohort of people will join at the exact same time, and then you will bring them along together to progress all at the same time. So for you, consider which one is going to align best with your content, with your business goals as well, and what your clients' preferences might be. And then think about what I said about the customer success manager earlier as well. Right, next is group program technology. This one crops up a lot. What technology should I use, Deirdre? The technology is important, especially if it's all online, but all of these other things, I think, are nearly lend more weight in terms of order of importance. So what I would say is, in terms of group program technology, take the time to really find the right tech tools and platforms where you're going to host your program. And what you're looking for is you want to make sure that whatever you choose is user-friendly for you, because there's a lot of work at the back end behind the scenes with uploading program content and videos. And, if you have guides or tools or downloadable documents to go with your videos, or if it's just documents and no videos, you want to make sure that it works. You want to make sure it's reliable and supports the features that you're going to need, whether it's video conferencing, content sharing, and communication. And so for me, one of the things that was really important, or that for me, when I did this research, I decided to use a platform called Kajabi. And Kajabi is a CRM platform, as well as a platform that's designed specifically for group programs. But that added actually a layer of complexity to my business, because I had a website on WordPress, and I won't bore you with the ins and outs of that. But nevertheless, my point is that Kajabi is actually, it's at the higher end in terms of functionality, reliability, and all of those great things I've mentioned. But that means it comes with a price tag. Now, I love it. And they give incredible support when you are stuck and need help with a question. Their tools and the people that I've spoken to and their teams have been amazing. So I would highly recommend Kajabi if you have the budget to be able to afford it. And I started using it 2.5 years ago. I'm still using it today. I haven't switched because I love it so much, but I have been in other people's group programs and they've used other tools. And as a user, I can say that the other tools were equally as good. You just need to figure out what's going to work for you from as the creator, the group host, whether you're going to do it yourself, whether you're going to hire somebody to do it for you or not. But Kajabi, that's my favorite. I won't be moving. I love it. And yeah, so that's the story there. But some of the other tech that I'm using for my group program right now, aside from Kajabi, is Vimeo, Slack, Zoom, Canva, and Google Workspace. That's it. There's nothing like unusual, I would think, in there. There are probably things that I use with my one-to-one clients as well. Pretty much all of those things, except Kajabi, really. But Kajabi has the functionality to be able to work with clients in one-to-one capacity. Oh, and I forgot to mention Stripe for payments. So I use Stripe for the payment system, but Kajabi has an integrated sales page system where you can connect your Stripe and work all through that as well. But I do it separately because for contracts, I use Adobe. So Adobe Digital Signature. So that's my full tech stack for my group program. Okay, the final thing here on this is community building. And this one really is key. And it needs a lot of thought. And why is this is because after people have learned your content, right, or they've done all the lessons that you have to offer, or you're kind of repeating yourself within your group program, well, then you have to think about what is going to incentivize them to stay or buy from you again or continue in the group program or anything like that. And I can tell you, as a client of StoryBrand, I'm a StoryBrand client because I'm a certified StoryBrand guide, that apart from the obvious that StoryBrand is an amazing marketing technique, and I use their marketing technique as part of my frameworks with my clients, the reason I pay multiple figures every single year to renew my StoryBrand certification is because of the sense of community within the group. And that's not StoryBrand in isolation. That's other groups I've been in as well, where, for example, I've been in a mastermind for 6 months or 9 months. And as a group, you really get to know other people's businesses. You get to support one another, especially when things happen live and people are helpful and responsive and the community is engaging. And when something ends, then you really feel that gap in your business and your support network and whatnot. So the things that I've learned from other groups I've been in, I've tried to adapt what I see working well, what I see happening in their communities into my own. And it's lovely to get messages after a group call to say, I love our weekly calls, or, I loved X's, I'm not going to name the client, but I loved X's suggestion on the call today. It was fantastic. I'm definitely going to implement that. All of those things, they're great, especially those ones, because I didn't have to give somebody the solution. Somebody else gave it to them, or they come up with ideas that are beyond my thought process. So that's amazing for people to have all of those different perspectives and resources. It's incredible, actually, and has such an amazing feel-good vibe. So if you're building out a group program, give community building the due consideration it deserves. What you're aiming for is to encourage participants to connect, to share their experiences, and absolutely to support one another. And whether that's, I put out a post, it's not getting any traction on social media, please help me. Or, I'm experiencing this with a client right now, I don't know what to do, please help me. And whatever is relevant to you and your business, imagine just being connected with people who are peers. That's what you're trying to create for people in a group. And a thriving community can enhance the overall program experience, even without great content. And like I say, after all of the content has been consumed and they're not really learning anymore, that's why I pay multiple figures each year to stay in certain communities. Right, folks, that wraps up our deep dive into group programs today. So beyond group programs being profitable, there are a multitude of additional factors which can be pivotal to your program's success. So head over to the show notes for the main points from this episode and for my list of tech if you didn't catch it and you're considering setting up your own group program. Thank you for joining us in the Master Your Business podcast. If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe, rate, and review the show. Your support keeps us motivated to bring you valuable content. So until next time, keep mastering your business.